Hello, homies, and welcome to another episode of Easily Entertained. I'm your host, your dutiful pop culture Sherpa, your loyal, loving, I'm your host here. Welcome to the show, you guys. Somehow we have been hurdled. Somehow we have been thrust into the third week of January of 2024. And I'm telling you, I'm convinced that whoever's up there currently in control of the simulation has fallen fast asleep on the fast forward button or something. It's definitely not that I'm getting older and that's just what happens. You know, they all say it. We all were warned. We will, we got to give credit where credit is due. I suppose this would be credit to the boomers, perhaps, to our mamas and our papas and those that came before us, that time truly does go faster the older you get, increasingly so. Suppose, that could also be explained by the amount of time you've lived relative to, say a year. Anyway, all to say, I hope you guys are having a great start to your year. We don't need to make things happen any quicker, I believe it was January, maybe directly after New Year's Eve, walk into Target, just my bi-weekly maybe, Target ritual. Who am I kidding? It's pretty much weekly. And the Valentine's stuff was already up. I'm telling you, consumerism, baby. The fastest train in America. Although I don't think that that's really a competition with a lot of high stakes winners. Trains just aren't really a thing we do here in Texas. I don't know. It's just not something. Although I really do want to take a Transalpine train trip. There's some really nice swanky trains you can sleep on and see beautiful scenery and through Europe and stuff. That would be sick. That's a train I would choo-choo upon. How you guys been? It's a new year. I like a new year. I like a fresh, a clean slate, a chance to doobity-doop-pop, do it over again. You know what I'm saying? If you want to, or really just reignite our engines for what we do want. I'm trying this new thing where I plan more, in my previous life, aka just a few years ago, I worked in media planning. Like the name planning is in my career. And I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did well in my job. Okay. And then it came to my daily personal life and I was not planning diddly shit very well. I always did love a pen and paper agenda, a new calendar, if you will, a planner, a physical planner. I love the accoutrement of being an organized person, right? And in the past, I did that. But then it was once I did all of that in my day job, right? It's I'm not going to work after work. Are you kidding me? So maybe that's where that disconnect happened. I don't know. See, I've just been very introspective, as one does. Just assessing the previous years, thinking about the one ahead, right? Welcome to Easily Entertained. We have some pop culture news nuggets, some updates for you, including the continued award season, which basically all of this has been pushed back due to the Hollywood strikes that happened for the majority of 23 for both the writers and actors in the various unions in Hollywood. So now we're just stacked, right? It's kind of like when The Bachelor just kept having continuous seasons back to back to back because we were back from Corona, or quarantine rather, not just Corona, but Yeah, so 2 more happened since we spoke, that being the Critics' Choice Awards and the Emmys. So we'll talk about the memorable moments, the internet moments, you know what I'm saying? The memeable momes. That doesn't work as an abbreviation, does it? But the important thing is we tried, okay? We tried. And we'll also talk about the winners and the losers and the hosts, all of whom did better than Joe Coy, but that line was pretty low to start with. So we will catch you up all on that. We got to talk about the Coachella lineup that was announced and comparatively the Bonnaroo lineup. So we're going to talk about that, okay? And talk about that new, what is out, what is something to look out for, movies, TV shows, music, the whole thing. And then, of course, this week, we are going to be talking about what everyone else in their dog has been talking about so that you don't have to listen to all of the 50 bajillion million interviews that Gypsy Rose and her hubby Ryan have done. If you don't know who Gypsy Rose is, don't worry. I will tell you. I will tell you the story. But really, I found that there is an interesting comparison between this and the case of Maya Kowalski and her family. And there's also a Netflix documentary on this called Take Care of Maya. So I wanted to talk about that and what that might say about us as a society, and just tell you a few good stories, sit back, hang out with me, and let's get this dig doggy going. Critics' Choice Awards for 2023 took place on Sunday, January 14th, and covers both TV and film. So pretty much like the Globes, although the ones that are picking and selecting the films and the TV shows and the awards of the year are those that are professionally, I guess, able to critique. I suppose I could look into that, but it seems like a scam to me, How does one day somebody decide that they're a critic? Like my opinion is above yours, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, but that's neither here nor there. That's just award shows. So the Critics' Choice Awards this year were hosted for the second year in a row by Chelsea Handler, who also happens to be or to have dated Joe Coy, our boy who hosted the Globes, who historically now did not do a good job and made like a really stupid booby joke. We talked about this last week if you would like the coverage on that. But basically he flopped. He flipped and he flopped all about the stage hosting, did not do very well. And everyone was talking about how he choked. So, of course, having his ex-girlfriend then, who was much more successful than him, go on to host the Critics' Choice Awards and do so flawlessly was great. I mean, good. The year of the woman just continues, honey. Although, again, the awards this time did favor Oppenheimer way more so, not as significantly as the Golden Globes, where Oppenheimer, I think, took home something like 13 awards and Barbie took home very few. But so this year for Critics' Choice Awards, Oppenheimer did again lead with 8 wins this go around for Best Picture, Best Acting Ensemble, Best Director for Christopher Nolan, Best Supporting Actor for Robert Downey Jr., Best Cinematography, Score, Editing, and Visual Effects. And Barbie went home with 6, so only 2 less for Best Comedy, Original Screenplay, Best Production Design, Costume Design, Hair and Makeup, and the Best Song with I'm Just Kin. So this was a funny moment that was captured. Best Song was very much slated to go to Billie Eilish with the song What Am I Here For? What Am I Made For? That was also in the Barbie movie. So the fact that it was then I'm Just Ken, and it was from Ken's perspective that ultimately won Best Song over the woman's is more irony at play. I love a good bit of irony. I can't lie to you. I think it's what makes the world go round. That's what makes shit entertaining, right? Everything is a little bit more entertaining if you take it from that perspective. So Ryan Gosling was absolutely just shocked, and the camera zoomed right in on his face, and everybody else was too, and kind of giggling. So that was pretty funny. Yeah. Then what else? A few movies that I have yet to see, but that were released in late 2023, and a few are still in theaters. So definitely more reason to go see them. Emma Stone, again, from similar to the Golden Globes, won Best Actress for her performance in Poor Things. And the movie The Holdovers also took on a few awards too, including Best Actor for Paul Giamatti, Best Supporting Actress for Divine Joy Randolph, and Best Young Actor/Actress for Dominique Sessa. Then on the TV side, similar winners too. Succession, The Bear, and Beef did really well. And the actors in all of those shows did well. So nothing like too crazy, but honestly, my favorite piece of information about the Critics' Choice Awards this year was learning how the stars were fed. And because, you never see like plates of food, right? I had to assume similar to like The Bachelor, to construction of these reality TV shows. We don't necessarily want to watch people like, chow down hard on their food, and it's just not really what the producers are looking for either. So oftentimes that's just done outside of the filming period, get to the drama, right, people, get to the juice. But you'd still think that it would be like a really nice meal, I don't know, like Nobu on the table, just saying. But no, instead, what they got at the Critics' Choice Awards were just like a slice of pizza and a paper baggie that someone was passing out, like when you go to a baseball game and they're like, hot dogs, pretzels, and they have that like giant necklace with a box full of things. That's what that was. So people giggled, and including, I think it was Oprah who posted something about it. I don't know. But she probably isn't hungry, honey. She's on Ozempic. So that's funny. Then the very next night, there was another award ceremony. And what was it bestowed upon us but the Emmys, which is an award show primarily and really only for TV shows and limited series and that kind of thing. So this one had slightly different results, but actually I completely take that back. It was all unsurprising. Succession, The Bear, Beef took home quite a few awards, and to note, because of this weird timing, even though the second season of The Bear has already been released, because it was released past the time frame that they look at for this year, all of these awards are for the first season. So, I can expect that we'll see them next year too. I have not finished, truthfully, the second season, so I definitely am going to do that after that. But a few kind of interesting moments that happened. Christina Applegate, who is, I think, best known for her role in Anchorman. She's amazing. Alongside Will Ferrell. She's from that. Dead to Me most recently from Netflix. She's in a ton of stuff. She started, I think, on Married with Children. But anyway, after she had filmed Dead to Me, she had announced publicly that she has MS, multiple sclerosis diagnosis, and she hasn't made very many appearances since then. One of them, though, was relatively recently. She shockingly just received her Hollywood star, and that was beautiful, and that's lovely, which is also weird that she hadn't before. But she came up to also kind of present an award, and she walked up on her cane and, of course, made a, like all good comedians do, a self-deprecating joke about people standing up, giving her a standing ovation as she needs to use a cane. It was a funny little disability joke that she made on herself, really. But that happened. There were a ton of, old school, I guess, reunions. Grey's Anatomy cast got together to present an award. I think there was Cheers was also reunited. So Seinfeld, maybe shows like that. But pretty much that's about it, And we still, of course, have the Oscars to go and the Grammys to come. But that's a little bit later this year. And that was quite an award show little run there. I'm sure our favorite celebs are tired from walking that red carpet. So that is your latest on the awards. Of course, I will have links in the show notes too, so you can see the nominees and all of the winners for yourself. But this had me thinking, because generally, similar to these award shows that kind of have the same key players, or like, I think personally in professional football and the NFL, you got like the same key players that are competing to make it to the Super Bowl, I think music festivals have kind of gotten that way. And I know, it could be a little bit testy to say that, but I truly think so. It's kind of like the last few years, last 5 years maybe, it's like the same circuit, right? And that kind of makes sense, but the same circuit of artists that play Coachella and Lollapalooza and Bonnaroo and ACL or what have you tend to play all of them the same year, probably promoting an album or playing, on tour or whatever. So while it makes sense, it's just kind of, meh. And I think we're kind of in an interesting spot where I was watching this TikTok video, and I feel like this is true. It's like all of the major, for maybe our generation, millennial artists, they've peaked in their careers. A lot of them, they're still great, but then we're kind of waiting for a ton of the Gen Z artists to, start filling out these headlines, and it's kind of odd that they don't have more. But I will say there's some representation. But I was not that amped about the Coachella lineup, y'all. I mean, let's go through it together, shall we? So the three main headliners are Lana Del Rey on Friday. I mean, I love Lana. Tyler, the Creator. I like Tyler, the Creator on Saturday, and Doja Cat on Sunday. Like, in and of themselves, those are big names, and that's cool. I don't know, it doesn't get me amped up. I'm sure it's going to be great, but then I think as you get a little bit, down the line of where the lesser known, first of all, they put J Balvin below Doja Cat. I don't know if I agree with, I don't know, maybe that makes sense. Unclear, but okay, I'll name some of the other big namers. Peso Pluma, I don't really listen to myself, but Lil Uzi Vert, Justice is good. Peggy Gao I've just discovered her. She's a good DJ. Sabrina Carpenter, Skepta, Tyla, Make Me Sweat, Make Me, Gorgon City is playing. Suki Waterhouse, which, to be honest, I don't know any of her music. I know her because she's dating Robert Pattinson, and I think they are having a baby together soon, so cute. Lovejoy. Yeah, those are kind of the big namers on Friday. On Saturday, Ice Spice, Gustaffelstein, Sublime, Jungle. Okay. Dom Dalla, Grimes, John Batiste. Honestly, for me, Purple Disco Machine. Okay. Ray, Blessed Madonna. Yeah, for me, that's where that stops. Sunday, Doja Cat, J Balvin, Janae, Aiko, Kwang Rubin. Who is Karine Leon? Lil Yachty, DJ Snake, Renee Rapp, Baby Rexa, BB Rexa, Coi Leray, Victoria Monet, Taking Back Sunday, Barry Can't Swim. That is a new artist that I've loved lately. That is a recomendación to you, is Barry Can't Swim. If you like Odessa, kind of indie EDM type style, I guess, highly recommend. And then it just says, and ... no doubt. So I don't know what that means when they're playing. Meanwhile, Bonnaroo, I'm not going to lie, they really outdid themselves this year, in my opinion. Obviously, this shit is, subjective, but here I am telling you what to listen to, what to watch, so might as well tell you. Why not change it? This might just tell you more of what the shit that I like, but I think it's in general, this is, with festivals, with the big popular festivals like these, they have to choose the big name, pop acts, as well as smaller, more indie artists that are just starting out, right? But still, I digress. So, Bonnaroo, we have Pretty Lights, Fisher. This is on Thursday. Disco Lines, Oliver Heldens. Okay, so Thursday's, it's fine. Friday, Post Malone is headlining. Maggie Rogers, Wong Robin. I'm probably saying that really wrong. But you know what? Let me know. I'm ready for it. Dominique Fike, Interpol, T-Pain, Gary Clark Jr., The Mars Volta, Thundercat, Group Love. Yeah, and others. And maybe you know that I don't. Then we got Saturday. Red Hot Chili Peppers are headlining. Cage the Elephant, Melanie Martinez, Cigarettes After Sex, Diplo, John Batiste, Renee Rapp. But maybe this is why. I think this is why, because as you can hear, there are quite a few repeaters from Lollapalooza. But Sunday, Fred again is headlining with Megan Thee Stallion, Two Friends, Carly Rae Jepsen, Joey Badass, Goth Babe, Galantis, Taking Back Sunday, Fortet, Charles Wesley Godwin, Milky Chance, and a sunrise set by Pretty Lights. So maybe No Doubt is a sunrise set. They'd probably be more like sundown set. I don't know. That's what we call a sunset. Anyways, another piece of news and a story that I could not help but follow came to us through the one, the only TikTok. And if it hasn't popped up on your For You page, or you don't use TikTok, or you have, we have to talk about it, because it is truly probably an epitome of what makes good reality TV and pop culture conversations in general, right? So there is the world's longest cruise that is hosted by or through Royal Caribbean. It's 274 days, which is 9 months. And there are just tons of a variety of kinds of people from different walks of life and ages and what have you, and jobs. It's been a while since cruises of this length were happening and or popular since the pandemic, but also because TikTok was not as big of a thing. Sure, we could have YouTubers and people post stuff on Instagram and all of that. So it's not like it didn't exist, but more and more people continue to use it. And so now all of these people and vacationers who are on this 9-month-long cruise around the world are all recording their experiences. And it's like witnessing a real life reality TV show. You've got a younger couple from South Africa who are there with their parents. They post a ton of videos, and you got what people are referring to as the cruise dad. Just as one might imagine, this older dude who made a TikTok about spending all of his kids' inheritance, and I thought that was hilar. And I'm sorry for saying hilar, but it is just absurdly entertaining. They are starting in Miami, and they left not too long ago, and then will arrive back at the very end of it all in Miami again in late September of 2024. So first of all, wow. You can still buy tickets for certain legs of the trip too. Like right now, I'm looking at the search results for 29 nights, ultimate Hawaii, Tahiti, and Australia cruise for $3,679 per person average. By the way, this is on the ship Serenade of the Seas, which has been around for 20 years. So the ship itself isn't new, but, and these kind of multiple month-long cruises have existed. But I guess more and more people, since we've been locked up during the pandemic and such, that hasn't really been such a thing. And so now younger people are going on cruises to see more places, right? The cost per person goes anywhere from, so the cheapest, not cheapest, the lowest being for an interior stateroom starts at $60,000 per person, up to a junior suite at $118,000. I mean, I'm not going to lie, this looks amazing, but I used to be a big cruise family, okay? Grew up in a cruise family. We did that thing. But a lot of them, we did also smaller cruises. I mean, I was fortunate enough on these family vacations to be taken on these. And as much fun as it is, you make your cruise friends. It's like going to camp, right? When you make cruise friends, it's like having a camp crush, and you have for that period of time, you've got your camp boyfriend and your besties from camp that you only see during the summer because they live somewhere else, but you quickly become close because it's like going to camp. Your entire world is this small area, but there's so much going on and it's this whole new community and stuff. So that's how I picture a cruise, right? And that's kind of how it is. Trust me, my sister had a boatmance before. I kind of did too. I made some really good friends that I'm still somewhat in touch with from cruises. If you know, it's this weird lifestyle, right? But you're still ready to go home at the end of it. It's like taking a deep breath and you're back to reality. Kind of how I imagine filming might be. I mean, I've never had a camera in my face, like constantly recording everything I do and say, which, I mean, this is enough of a liability, right? This podcast here, mind you, a reality TV show. I don't know. But that's kind of how I imagine it. So everyone is buckling in. It's the start of this cruise. And if drama goes down, I think we'll know. And that's exciting. So I like that as Big Brother, as the internet and social media and all of this shit can seem, it's so entertaining. So, you're listening to Easily Entertained. So I find lots of things that way. And I hope you do too. But we'll be keeping up with this. Don't you worry. There is another influencer who was sponsored to go, I guess, joined the cruise. And apparently there's already drama. Like people don't like him or they don't like that he's recording everything, maybe more than others, I guess, of other people and stuff in the boat. I don't know. His name is Mark Sebastian, if you're curious and want to look that up on TikTok. So I don't want to talk about how long I spend on this app, but I will talk about how I'm allowing that to benefit you. So you don't have to do that. Okay. Every day I feel like I have just 24 different catchphrases and quotes, just running through my head on loop. And that gets loud. It gets loud. I'll tell you what. But I always did shit like that. That's why I went into advertising. I often, out of the blue, recite a jingle, 459-2022, get a Mr. Gaddy's Pizza delivered to you. So don't worry about it. Anyways, we're going to move on. And it's not quite as gleeful as I've just been, but it is interesting. Today, I wanted to talk to you about what everyone is talking about these days is Miss Gypsy Rose Blanchard. If you know, don't worry. We'll talk about the updates and we'll get to it. If you do not know, also don't worry. Buckle in. Let's talk about these stories and I'll tell you the context. So Gypsy Rose was about 13 years old when her mother was murdered, and she would then come to be arrested for the coordination or the plotting of her own mother's murder. However, this was because her mom had Munchausen's by proxy disorder, which is a psychological disorder in which a caretaker, usually a mom, seeks attention and medical help and sometimes money for exaggerating or completely making up symptoms of an illness or a sickness or a disease, and just lying to everyone, usually including their own child, and convincing them that they are sick or making it up. And it's horrible. So Gypsy Rose, do not get me wrong, is 100% a victim. It just gets real gray. Her mom, Dee Dee Blanchard, had a surgery to remove Gypsy Rose's salivary glands that she didn't need because she's lying and she's psychotic, and had the doctors made her drool more. And what she had really done was put Orajel on Gypsy Rose's lips so that she would drool. And the doctors then suggested, or they eventually get to this surgery. And that's horrible. So things like that have done. She's in a wheelchair. She couldn't walk. Many teeth were removed, terrible, terrible, painful surgeries and medications she didn't need. And crazy, awful, terrible. And essentially what happened is she convinced or got her, I guess, then boyfriend or guy she was secretly seeing to murder and stab her mom to death while she waited in the next room in the bathroom. There's obviously quite a big moral conversation that can happen from that, from a million different angles. Clearly, being murder is bad, don't murder. But then, Gypsy Rose spent her entire life trapped in this life. And there are quite a few different documentaries and a fictionalized TV series that's on Hulu called The Act. That's good. And then Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. It was released I think in 2017, shortly after this all went down on HBO. And it has the entire journey and all the crazy details, and highly recommend either of those. But now we're seeing she's going from there to she's really served a total of 8 years in prison. She was taking a trial. She and her now ex, but her boyfriend at the time who actually did the murder, Nick Godejohn, is serving a life in prison. Now Gypsy is let out 2 years early on parole and has been making the rounds, honey, with, every news publication. So I did think it was going to be People, and I think it kind of was People. I'm reading a lot of this information from their article, so we'll link that in the show notes too. But Lifetime had these really, really got the first entry and got tons of interviews while she was in prison and kind of leading up to her journey and her release from prison. So she's also running and doing PR for that Lifetime documentary that's out. Anywho, so it's just I get a weird feeling about all of this attention she's getting. People are commenting on TikTok mother, she's mothering, which is slang for yes, she's our queen. She's our mom. I don't know. And she's being treated like a celebrity. And in a sense, though, you can't be too surprised, right? Because we are so obsessed, and I am very much including myself in this way, very much so, are obsessed with true crime. And I think this is kind of the ugly underbelly of that, right? These aren't characters in a Lifetime limited series show, fictionalized show, right? This is real life. And that gets blurred when we kind of are inundated with all these crazy, tragic, awful stories that then things that we get, jaded to things, and that's not good, right? When you're exposed to so much. So that's something I keep in mind too, for as much as I love true crime, and I will continue to cover it. It's just a weird moral thing, She arranged for her mom's murder. She had the wherewithal to sneak off and have Nick go to John as a secret boyfriend, right? And could tell him everything. I don't know. I don't want to victim blame either, though. It's so sticky, and it's hard these days to have an opinion. And yeah, full stop. These days, sometimes it's hard to have an opinion because it's just people are contentious. They're ready to rumble a lot, and I'm just not the type that wants to rumble. So I feel weird about that, about the treatment of her. But what really made me think about this is I had recently seen another documentary that also mentioned or centered around Munchausen's by proxy, the disorder that Dee Dee Blanchard, Gypsy Rose's mom, had. And she was ultimately diagnosed with that. I guess it's something you can diagnose. I mean, I suppose with any mental thing a doctor can diagnose you with, but still, I would love to know what that kind of like test involves. But it made me think of this particular case because it kind of is like it takes that awareness of this disorder to the extreme. And it was almost the complete reversed kind of scenario went down. And Gypsy Rose, her story has been around for a while. So we now knew that. And that happened. She started going to jail, I suppose is the way to say it, in 2017. And then this documentary called Take Care of Maya went down in afterwards. So the awareness or, the public had already started talking about this disorder with the Gypsy Rose case. So it's interesting how this plays into it. And it's another, I warn you, another another sad story. Centers around the Kowalski family. So Beata and Jack Kowalski are the parents. They have 2 kids, a son, and then Maya, their daughter, who started experiencing at the age of 10, or I think a little bit before, just these extreme agonizing pains that it was so painful to walk, like it could be brought on by anything. And they went from doctor to doctor to figure out what was going on with her. And they couldn't figure it out until finally they met with this doctor, Dr. Anthony, who told them that it was probably this disease called complex regional pain syndrome. And he suggested a ketamine infusion therapy for her. So people kind of think that this doctor may have been somewhat of a super alternative guy, but one of those. Not many people were really onto ketamine yet in the treatment. And it's not just the fact that then they decide to undergo this and give Maya, the 10-year-old, some ketamine, but the dose that the doctor was giving her apparently was enough for a 600-pound human. So it was just an obscene dose. And so they're seeing this doctor who then recommends a treatment that can only lots of reputable surgeries can only be performed in Mexico. And it was for a 5-day high dosage ketamine infusion that would put Maya in a 5-day coma. Yeah. So they did that in a ketamine coma. And, there's lots of risks with that. She can die from that. She didn't. And I guess it was treating her pain. She's on the super high dose. And I guess it worked until it didn't. Maya starts having pains again. So Beata and Jack Kowalski take her to the ER, where essentially, her mom never sees him again. They get separated. Once the doctors learn about these high, this high dose of ketamine that's being given to this young child, sends up a bunch of red flags. And that's probably for good reason. But they're under the instruction of this doctor. They don't really know. However, to be noted, the mom, Beata, was a registered nurse. But the hospital, after hearing of this, brought in a child abuse doctor who then, after a 10-minute conversation only with the dad, Jack, took away Maya's custody from the parents, determined it was a risk, and that's when the lawsuits began, or they were started to investigate. 3 months go by. Maya is crying and begging for her parents. She's still in pain. Her mom, Beata, is urging with the doctors that it's just this ketamine that she needs to alleviate. But they are really rude to the mom on the phone, and they have these recorded and stuff, kind of lying to her and just turns out that this nurse or this child abuse doctor that came in had done this, I guess, like over 60 something times. And in this particular county had a much higher rate of removing kids from their homes, from their families rather, for this kind of thing, for this medical child abuse. And they accused mom of having Munchausen's and just for keeping them separated. And Maya was begging and pleading and, obviously depressed and was separated from her family. And tragically, her mom, Beata, took her own life. And only after that were the charges dropped and Maya was able to come home. And horrible, awful, terrible mourning, the loss of her mom. And the testing came back after that too. And the mom did not have Munchausen's, and Maya was in pain, and they finally found something that worked for her. And she went into physical therapy and found some treatment that worked. And she didn't really end up needing ketamine. Understandably so, the Kowalskis filed a lawsuit against the hospital, and they received something like $261 million lawsuit was filed. And they won, and the hospital is liable for the death of Beata Kowalski. It's a deep dive into systems that can go unchecked and how that can really compound on each other. Kind of shows the way that when we're obsessive about some story or something, how it can really affect and have a ripple effect into other aspects. I don't know if they would have thought of that so quickly, of the mom having Munchausen's, if it wasn't so big in the news. I don't know. And yet Gypsy Rose is out here, saying she's doing this to spread awareness. I feel iffy about this Gypsy girl. She was also in a podcast, said she never actually did the murder, so she doesn't identify as a murderer, which I guess, like, on a legality, sure. And she's, saying murder is bad, don't do it. I wish I had done, something different. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel so conflicted about it. Obviously it's interesting, and obviously I'm sitting here talking about it right now. But I hope that you found that interesting. Again, the documentary for the Maya Kowalski story is Take Care of Maya on Netflix. And then there is Mommy, Dead and Dearest on HBO for Gypsy Rose, and The Act on Hulu. Next week is the premiere of The Bachelor. We're back, baby, with Joey. So of course we'll be talking about that. Let's keep it poppin', friends, homies. If you have any suggestions for how I should close out the podcast, let me know. I'm taking requests. And thank you for joining. I hope you guys have a great day, evening, morning, whatever, whenever you're listening to this. And follow on Instagram at Easily Entertained Pod. Keep up. Got some fun shit on there too. Tell your friends, tell your fam, tell your foes. Okay, that's going to be all for me now. Bye.